Hello. Welcome to the third part of the plush timeline. We're going to start out with the 80s. Experiment 1006. Between 1980 and 1984, Fire was working on a war weapon with the help of Elliot Ludwig without Playtime Co. When it was done, Ludwig wanted to put some stuff called Remnant in it, and Fire denied. Experiment 1007. The reason Ludwig wanted to put soul substance in the prototype is because he killed his own adopted son, Ollie, to bring back his daughter, but he figured it out and created Poppy, but at the cost of Ollie. The creation of Toodles. 8 years before 1989, the year Garnerview was to open, Arthur and Delilah created a cartoon A-ball named Toodles, who looked up to a magnifying glass character they were making named Roger. Donkey Kong. In 1981, Mario gets his girlfriend kidnapped by a gorilla who would later become Cranky Kong, and after saving her, she dumps him, so Mario imprisons the gorilla. Donkey Kong Jr. In 1982, Donkey Kong's son saved him from Mario, and after that, Mario reflected on himself and decided to open a plumbing business with his brother, Luigi. The death of Louis Eastwood. In 1982, two siblings, Isabel and Louis Eastwood, were on a boat where the entity appeared and whispered, "Push him off the boat," in Isabel's ear, and Louis drowned and later possessed Felix Fish in the game Andy's Apple Farm. Thomas's anger. After Louis's death, his dad, Thomas Eastwood, creator of Andy's Apple Farm, starts drinking and starts blaming Isabel, and his wife Kim kicks him out. Thomas and Arthur. Thomas told his friend Arthur King to keep an eye on his family, but apparently something got under the radar because his stocking appears at Christmas. The death of Arthur. Arthur arrived to the Eastwood house burning down and saw Thomas, and the entities whispered, "He did it," in Thomas's ear. And Thomas killed Arthur with an axe, and he would later possess Klaus the Clock in Andy's Apple Farm. The death of Thomas Eastwood. Later, Thomas hid in a bar from the police when the entity appeared and killed Thomas, and Thomas would possess his game's main character, Andy the Apple. The entity's vessel. Later, the entity found Thomas's game and decided to possess the final challenge character in the game, Peter the Pumpkin. Andy's Apple Farm. After that, Thomas started really possessing Andy's apple, and his family and Arthur After that, Thomas started really possessing Andy's apple, and his family and Arthur started possessing the other characters, and Peter is making sure his soul doesn't escape. Rick Sanchez. Stanford didn't just have one college buddy, but two, in the form of Rick Prime, and this Rick is known in the multiverse as Rick Prime. Another Rick, C-137, refused to join a Rick council, leading to Rick Prime dropping a bomb in Rick's garage, killing his wife Diane and daughter Beth. Rick Prime went on to become a multiversal criminal. The portal gun. Immediately, Rick's finished the last science experiment he was working on, the portal gun, so he can go through the multiverse to hunt down Rick Prime.
In Providence, we root for the home team because they're our team too. And with more than 50.
A very important pawn. One day, Bill was summoned by Stanford Pines, who would make a deal with Bill. The deal was, Bill would give Stanford information about Plush World if Ford made a portal. The death of Andrew. In 1983, William Afton decided to lure a young boy in an alligator mask to the back room at Fredbear's and killed him and hid his body in the abandoned Fredbear suit. Andrew decided to possess his son, Garrett's Fredbear plush. Discovering Remnant. After Afton killed Andrew, he discovered a soulic substance called Remnant and used it to power and give life to Fredbear, Spring Bonnie, Fetch, and Plush Trap. Miller's obsession. At Fredbear's, Miller overlooked Afton and Emily, and after Afton killed Andrew, he did not report him, instead finding the soulic substance called Remnant from the murder, driving him insane. Arnold's death. After trying to get away from Michael and his friends, Garrett accidentally ran into Arnold the janitor wearing a Spring Bonnie suit costume, and it scared him to death. Jack's death. After Arnold fell victim to the spring locks, Henry killed the night guard of Fredbear's Jack Kennedy inside of the Fredbear suit, creating two things: the husk of Jack's body and Black Jack, Jack's true soul. Garrett's nightmares. During the week of his birthday, Garrett's dad was experimenting on him and filling his room with a hallucinogenic gas called poppy gas, giving Garrett visions of seeing nightmare versions of the Fredbear's characters. The Bite of 83. On his birthday, Michael and his friends put Garrett in Fredbear's mouth, telling him to give Fredbear a big kiss. But then Fredbear bites him, but he survives. Barely. Yep. Did somebody say barely? The Bigger Bodies Program. In 1984, Harley Sawyer started working for Playtime Co. and created a new program in it that turned orphans into living, killing toys. Experiment 1160. Sawyer's first Bigger Bodies creation was Experiment 1160, Boxy Boo, who'd kill employees who got answers they shouldn't know. Experiment 1163. The fourth Bigger Bodies creation was Experiment 1163, Pianosaurus. It is unsure what his role was for Playtime Co., though. Experiment 1166. In 1984, the 1166th experiment was created as Yarnaby. Yarnaby used the soul of an orphan, Quinn Davidson, and was considered Harley Sawyer's guard dog. Experiment 1170. In 1984, it was finally time that Playtime Co.'s mascot, Huggy Wuggy, would get his very own real-life form, in Experiment 1170, which he was a factory worker, and his thing was very hostile like Playtime wanted. It would eat you alive. Stanford once saw one of Stanley's scam ads and told Bill about him. The conversation then led to where Bill was from, and he told Stanford that it was destroyed by a monster. And when Stanford told him he could help hunt it down, Bill simply said, "Oh, Sixer. It would eat you alive." What happened next? The night Stanford and his partner Fiddleford were testing out the portal, Fiddleford accidentally got his head stuck in the portal, with him seeing something shocking. Bill removing his exoskeleton to feed on something. He started talking backwards and then left. The Society of the Blind Eye. The Society of the Blind Eye was created by Fiddleford McGucket, Ford's ex-assistant. It was to wipe the memory of people who lived around Plush World. Fiddleford also represents the glasses on the cipher wheel. Sorry, ads. I don't care. Donald's discharge. In 1984, years after World War II ended, the military discharged Donald Duck from the military on his 50th birthday. Zombills. Zombills was a plan Bill had to try to get Ford back. It was rotten, repulsive and green, with dead teeth. But without a tongue, Cypher's recognizable voice came out of it. It did not work. Just let the Ford write about the undead in Journal 3. Torture. During the night, Bill would possess Stanford's body, and he said, you have no power here." But he was wrong. Ford went inside of his body and saw Bill. Bill explained he could make every neuron burn with pain, and told him he would send someone to steal his eyes if the portal wasn't on. The Intergalactic Bar. After Bill finally recognized Ford wasn't coming back, he went to an intergalactic bar to keep his mind off Ford. Bill had one too many beers and went to an intergalactic Mexican restaurant and tried to order one Sixer, please. When they told him that didn't make sense, he started crying and grabbed the phone. "Hey, Mom, it's me, Billy. I'll be home from school in a little bit. Remember to cut my sandwiches into triangles or I'll..." "Where did you go? Where did you..." "Oh, you hear that? My mariachi band is right on time." Bill ended up getting the police call on him. Saving Steve. Steve went looking for Bill and was captured by police because they thought he was Bill, and Bill saved him, and they went to another bar to throw darts at people. Invited. Bill was slowly driving Stanford insane, so he decided to invite his twin brother Stanley to Plush World to do a favor for him. Ford gets stuck in the portal. One day, Ford called Stan over for something. Ford wanted Stan to get the first journal far away from him. Stan got mad that Ford wanted to see him in 10 years just to want him away, got into a fight which ended in Ford getting stuck in the portal. This was music to Bill's non-existent ears. Stanley's regret. After Stanford got trapped in the portal, Stanley felt regret and told himself he wouldn't leave his brother's house until he got his brother back, and turned Stanford's house into a tourist attraction called the Mystery Shack. It also started wearing a fez with a fish on it, making him represent the fish on the cipher wheel. Cypher and Sanchez. After Stanford was trapped in the portal, Bill decided to get the man Stanford was closest to other than Fiddleford, Rick Sanchez, to turn back on the portal. But then Cypher learned that Rick is kind of an a-hole. Goomba's natural enemies. 25 years before this, the cordyceps mushrooms spread to the Mushroom Kingdom, took over another species, and when they made it to the Goombas part of the world, they ran the Goombas out of the kingdom, and adopted an orphan girl named Peach. The death of Charlie Emily. In 1984, Fredbear's opened for one more year thanks to the bite, and Henry created a thing called the puppet to protect his daughter, Charlie. But Charlie was locked outside by some bullies, and Afton pulled up and killed her, and her soul possessed the puppet. Gremlins. In 1984, a man brought a mogwai as a pet for his son and named him Gizmo, and it was revealed that you can't get him wet or feed him after midnight. All these rules were broken. Eventually, all hundreds of thousands would burn at a movie theater, and their leader, Stripe, was killed by sunlight. Koopas and Goombas. During the period where they were looking for a new place to call home, a group of Koopa Troopas found the Goombas and decided to take them to their ruler Bowser to help them get back at the Toads. Invaded by the Koopas. At the beginning of 1985, Bowser, the king of the Koopa Troop, invaded the Mushroom Kingdom. First, Bowser turned the mushroom resident the Toads into rocks and bricks and kidnapped their leader, Princess Peach. The death of Garrett Afton. In May of 1985, Afton goes to the campsite where Michael is with Garrett and his ex-wife, where he kidnaps his own son to study Remnant and puts his son in a Fredbear suit, spring-locking him to death. The missing children incident. A month later, Afton, using the Springle Bonnie suit, lured 5 kids to the back room at Freddy's, killed them, and hid their bodies in the animatronic suits, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, and the Fredbear costume whose hat turned brown. And this got Freddy shut down, and the puppet made the kids possess the suits. The Agony Monster. The Agony of the event created a figure that mimicked William Afton, and he was seen luring a kid named Oswald from the 21st century into a ball pit. Mario Bros. The company is a success, and one day as Mario and Luigi are cleaning up the sewers of New York, they get sucked up a warp pipe. Super Mario Brothers. After being sucked into a warp pipe while cleaning up the sewers of New York, Mario and Luigi ended up in the Mushroom Kingdom and went on a journey to save Princess Peach from the evil King Bowser. Also, they met Toad, and it took from them approximately 3 days.
Did somebody say Toad?
Mario vs. Bowser. They finally found Bowser's castle, and Mario got into a huge battle with the fire-breathing Koopa, where Mario dropped a bridge with lava under it and rescued Peach, but Bowser didn't die, and after they left, his trusted advisor Kamek and his son Bowser Jr. helped him get out. Undertale. A human named Frisk went to the underground and met Flowey, and after a long journey, they met Asgore, who showed them the 6 human souls he's gathered, but Flowey took them and became God. Omega Flowey. After becoming God, Frisk fought long and hard to defeat him, and when they did, Flowey just ran away, and Twirl and Asgore get back together. Genocide Run. Flowey decided to give Kara their own version of Undertale called the Genocide Route, where they kill everyone and Sam decided that they wanted to have a bad time. The death of Trevor. Henry sent Trevor the cashier to the ready to shut down Freddy's while he arranges the new building, but the animatronics ambush him and he hid in a Fredbear suit and got skewered by the spring lock and got skewered and spring locked to death. Sorry, ads. The reincarnation of the god of corn. On February 3rd, 1986, the reincarnation of the god of corn was born in the corn farm in Brazil and was named Marcelo Bambi Cornwall because his parents liked the Disney film Bambi. The creation of Dandy. In 1986, Delilah Keene, a fireman for the Ink Cult, and her assistant Arthur Walton created the main character of their entertainment mass and named him Danticus Dancifer. Tankman finds Pico. In this point of the time, Plush World was in a constant state of fear of being ambushed by the world created in the section that was sealed off, the anime world. So the section at the vent is considered the war escape. And one day, Captain and Steve, two tankmen, find a crowd of bodies and finds a baby boy Captain names Pico. The death of Elizabeth Afton. Henry knew William killed the kids and fired him, so Afton made his own line of child-killing animatronics called the Funtime Animatronics. And his daughter Elizabeth was fond of Circus Baby and went up to her and it ate her. Afton closed the restaurant and blamed it on gas leaks. The Killer TD. In 1986, there was a killer in a town in the United States named TD. And one night, this thing showed up at a church and was slathered in holy water and exploded in a fountain of blood. Experiment 998. In 1986, a group of scientists created a thing to fight computer bugs inside the computer, a growing problem for the late 80s. They decided to make a rare form of digital Pokemon called Porygon. Rabbit Night. In 1986, Jeff Eastwood played the new Eastwood Games game, Rabbit Night, where he plays as Rory the Rabbit. At the end of the game, Peter the Pumpkin appears and drags Jeff from the game and made him possess Rory. Tanuki Mario. Bowser kidnapped Peach again, and Mario went on another adventure to save her, but something helped Mario, the Tanuki, who has been in there for 1,200 years, and it helped Mario be more powerful to beat his enemies. The Ice Crown. In 1987, a man named Simon Petrikov finds the Ice Crown, a magical item that grants ice powers to its wearers, and drove him insane, scaring away his wife Betty. The creation of Pebble. In June, Delilah and Arthur create Dandy's pet rock in the show they were designing, and the second Pebble saw Dandy, he started wiggling towards him. The creation of Astro. After Pebble was made, Arthur and Delilah made Dandy's best friend in the show, Astro Novalite, and as expected, they become friends. Experiment 999. In 1987, Dr. Eggman tried to revive the infamous TD killer, and it was a success. Experiment 999, Tails Doll, was very alive and very, very dangerous. The second Freddy Fazbear's. Henry broke down the old animatronics at Freddy's and made new versions with predator defense mechanisms to detect if anyone like Afton was around, called the toy animatronics. The Dead Children incident. Henry's face scan did not work as he hoped, and Afton went to the new Freddy's in his spring bonding suit, killed 5 more kids, and their souls possessed the toy animatronics, making them hostile. The Bite of 87. The night guard Jimmy Fitzgerald was doing his week at Freddy Fazbear's, where the withered Foxy animatronic leaped at him and bit his frontal lobe out, he survived a few minutes after. Dave and Jack. After Afton decided to work at the day shift of Freddy's and met Jack and became good buds, Afton also came up with a new name, Dave Miller. Dave also likes to call Jack Old Sport, or Sportsy. The villain arc. It's been 4 years by this point. Miller discovered Remnant, and he wanted to kill more people to fuel himself, with it starting his villain arc. Condemning to the flip side. Dave and Jack teamed up with Ralph, the phone guy, and the puppet to take down Henry for his insanity and crimes. The puppet went along with this knowing Dave was Afton, but went with it to take down another monster. Blackjack sealed Henry in the flipside dimension. Lefty. After the second Freddy's closed, Henry scrapped all the toy animatronics except for the puppet, who got away. In fear of a sock monkey with a creepy mask coming back to haunt him, he created a counterattack if that day ever came. Beetlejuice. In March of 1988, Beetlejuice was summoned by a recently killed-off couple who wanted him to scare some people out of their house, but Beetlejuice tried to marry their daughter Lydia, who is centuries younger than him, so he could escape Bill and the damnation of the Nightmare Realm, but it didn't work. The New Tunes. In 1988, Delilah introduced Arthur to the new shutdown V, and he made a redesign for her, providing a green look with just one button and a bow tie, instead of just a tie, and without the jacket. They also created 2 new tunes for Danny's, Shelly DeFossil and Sprouted Strawberry. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? In 1988, Detective Eddie Valiant is put on the case of Roger Rabbit, a Toon who is on trial for murder, and the one prosecuting him is Judge Doom, who wants to execute him. There's no way to kill a Toon, but there is only one. Doom created this stuff called Dip that dissolves Toons. Remember Me, Eddie. Back in the day on a case, Eddie's brother was killed by Doom with a piano because Doom was a Toon all along, but Eddie dumps the dip on Doom, dissolving and killing him, as well as Doom's weasels. The Want for Cosmo. One night, Sprout and Astro were talking about their memories from the show, and Sprout brought up his memories of the character Cosmo to Swiss Roll, a side character Arthur and Delilah were working on. The other tunes. After the other 3 mains were created, Delilah and Arthur created every other Toon. The most notable one was Roger, the magnifying glass, who was seen as a father figure for Toodles. The Ocean Tunes. After all the others were made, Finn and Shrimpo realized they were the only ocean-themed Toons, Finn being a fishbowl and Shrimpo being a shrimp, so they decided to be friends. The Event Tunes. In 1989, after all the regular Toons were created aside from Trickor, the 2 event mains and Toons were made. Bobbit the Ornament, the Christmas main, and the 2 other Christmas characters, Cole and Ginger, and Bassie the Easter main, and the other 2 Easter Toons, Eggs in Flight. Bobbit's Pet Rock. Bobbit saw that Danny has Pebble and wanted a pet rock of her own, so Danny took her to Arthur and Delilah to make her new pet rock, Cole. The Halloween Tunes. With Trickor, Eclipse, and Connie, Delilah and Arthur made 2 more Toons. SO28, Rebecca the Skeleton, and SO29, Sylvester, who's the brother of Connie. All Year Round Toon. Originally, Connie was an event Toon, but after seeing her friendship with Gigi Capsule and Flutter the Butterfly, Arthur and Delilah decided to not store her away at the end of October. The creation of Dial. Before Garden View opened, Arthur and Delilah wanted someone to run the trains to Garden View, so they created OA001, which stands for his optional absence, also known as Dial Timesley. They never intended him to be in the show, hence the name, Optional Absence. Garden View opens. In 1989, Delilah finally created every character they needed for the Dance World show, so Garden View can open. Aquarium and art room. Gordon had a built-in aquarium which was mainly fin themed, and an art room which was mainly scraps and Russia themed. Overshadowed. Gordon made plushies for the characters, and all of them were almost out of stock, except for Shelly, who was always overshadowed by the more popular V and Dandy, hurting her self-esteem. The third Freddy Fazbear's. Fazbear Entertainment tried one more time in 1989 to open another Freddy Fazbear's, but at that time, the company's reputation was ruined. The birth of the boys. In 1989, the main group of boys were born in Plush World, Stan, Call, Kenny, and Eric. But Kenny's parents were a part of the cult of Scientology, and Bill gave Kenny the gift of eternal life. When he turns 8, he will die every day. Black and Gaster. When Bob's Dark World form was created, he got the name Black and started working for W.D. Gaster. The 90s. It took us long enough. Finally in the 90s. Shrimpo and Trickor. When Gardenview opened, Trickor got a squabble with Shrimpo. Shrimpo decided to slap Trickor and break apart his face off. Huggy's brainwashing. Playtime Co. came up with this new technique to make their experiments forget themselves by playing the show Miss Gracie to brainwash them. Huggy's brainwashing had Miss Gracie tell him to put smiling critters in that toy box as they prayed for their lives. Fiery at Playtime. In April of 1990, Fiery decided to start working at Toy Factory Playtime Co. because he was bored. Oliver the Prototype. When Fiery started working for Playtime, he brought 1006 with him, and they asked him to fit in a jester costume to better fit the company. But without his knowledge, Ludwig put Ollie's soul in the prototype, but then the prototype proved that it was too violent, so Fiery had to make another war weapon. Theodore Granville. In 1999, a 7-year-old that lived in Playtime Co.'s orphanage, Playcare, Theodore Granville started a friendship with 1006, the prototype, the same day Fiery started working for Playtime Co. Experiment 1181. The first thing Fiery made for Playtime Co. was an orange dog named Dog Day, Experiment 1181, the prototype. Playtime staff expected Theo's friend to be imaginary, and they asked him to draw out his friend, and he drew a long mechanical arm. Gremlins 2. In 1990, Gizmo got wet again and formed 4 new Mogwai, and one of these was the reincarnation of the leader from the first batch, Strike. At the end of this new batch was somewhat different. Instead of burning them, they got them wet. The agony of childbirth stopped the gremlins, and they released an electric gremlin who electrocuted his brothers to death. The birth of Seuss. Seuss Ramirez was born in 1990 and would eventually see Stanley as his father figure since his dad was never around. Seuss also represents the question mark on the cipher wheel. Experiment 1186. In September, Fiery ordered Playtime to make Experiment 1186 after 1185 failed to be a war weapon, and made 1186 Bobby Bear Hug, but she failed because she couldn't go in her bigger body. The accident. Throughout the creations of Experiments 1181, 1182, 1183, 1184, 1185, and 1186, Theo and the prototype's friendship was strengthened, but during September of 1990, the prototype ordered Theo to open one of the doors to free the other orphans. Will was electrocuted, but unexpectedly the prototype dragged Theo's body to the doctor, Harley Sawyer, who said Theo was the perfect candidate for Experiment 1188, Catnap. The sister location. In 1990, Afton told his son Michael that he thought Elizabeth was possessing Circus Baby and told him to go to the bunker below their house to retrieve her. Scooped. Elizabeth and the other Fun Times weren't being treated the greatest by William, so when Michael came around, they thought he was William, so they combined themselves to become this thing called Ennard, and they scooped Michael's insides to make themselves a flesh suit. the purple guy. After a while, Michael's body started to decay, and it didn't help enter that no one was calling them William, so they ejected themselves out of Michael, and Elizabeth spit up some remnant to keep him alive. The incarnation of Lilbit. During this, an entity known as Lilbit would become into existence and made an animatronic Fox appearance based off Funtime Foxy. Experiment 118. In November of 1990, Sawyer had Fire using the Catnap dolls and fused the Bigger Bodies formula and Theodore's soul and created Catnap. Catnap's brainwashing. Playtime Co.'s treatment of their creations was to brainwash them to forget their old lives by playing the tapes of the show they made Miss Gracie. This worked most effectively on Catnap. Super Mario World. In November, Mario met a green dinosaur named Yoshi, and Toad is annoyed at its existence, and for some reason, when he sees Yoshi, he talks like Keegan-Michael Key, and they defeat Bowser again. Home Alone. In 1990, an 8-year-old Kevin McAllister gets left home alone on Christmas while his whole extended family goes to France. At home, the cat burglars, the wet bandits, Harry and Marv, try to rob the McAllisters, but Kevin defeats them with traps. The show starts. In 1990, the first cartoon of Dane's World was released, and like The Simpsons, started the Christmas special Snowy Adventures, starring Danny and Bobette. Gardenview Reindeer. When Rudy turned 15, he started appearing in Gardenview Christmas specials, but also, Rudy kind of developed feelings for Coco the Chocolate Bunny, something the other gods of Plush World would call pathetic, making Rudy insecure. Suppressing. Arthur trained Rudy to suppress his godly origins and start acting more like the funny gag Delilah wanted. Overworked. Arthur had high views of Bobette and told her to make the gifts for the kids at Gardenview, making her overworked because she's not Santa and can't make gifts in 25 days, unlike him. Circus trope. Louie Yachty and Blot were specifically made not for the show, but for birthday parties at Gardenview, with Louie being a balloon, Yachty being a piñata, and Blot being a mime. Bassie's Envy. In 1991, the Easter tunes were shown off in the cartoons Grow Together and Spring Flowers, both starring Coco, both starring Bassie, but Delilah did not come up with Bassie, Arthur did. Delilah originally considered Coco the Chocolate Bunny as the main, making Bassie a bit jealous. Coco worries. Coco tries to be nice to Bassie, but she just gives her the cold shoulder, because she's still envious and thinks it's her fault. Experiment 1222. Experiment 1222, Mommy Longlegs, was used by Sawyer to run the game station. She was a little girl who was terrified of Catnap, Marie Payne. Capsules in the game. In 1991, a random cult gathered in Plush World to summon the god of execution, where he started killing the members. Then they sealed him in a disc of the Sega game Sonic the Hedgehog, creating Sonic.exe. The creation of Gordy. In 1991, the Trick Roar episode Pumpkin Stocking was labeled too scary for kids, so Arthur and Delilah reworked the main Halloween tune to be more younger and cuter and created Gordy. Toodles and Gordy. After Gordy's creation, he and Toodles became friends because they're the only two kid tunes in Gardenview, but Gordy is slightly jealous of Toodles because Toodles has Roger and Gordy doesn't have parents. Non-existent memories. From the show, Gordy has memories of him having parents, and you think Arthur and Delilah would make them next, but no. Because in the show, Mr. and Mrs. Holloway were faceless characters, creating a toll on Gordy's young mind. The creation of Smiling Friends. In 1992, Galep traveled somewhere in Warwick and met Mr. Boss, who lost everything in a market crash. Galep did his dance, making him smile. Then they teamed together to start Smiling Friends. The creation of Rewrite. In 1992, a Reed priest created a sonic program that let people talk directly to Christ, but this thing malfunctioned, convincing his followers to unalive themselves, and then eventually did the same to his creator by telling him to burn down his house with him inside, but eventually became the digital embodiment of God. Experiment 1322. In 1992, the newest member of the Bigger Bodies Initiative was created as Doe Doman, and they used 3 orphan souls to power him: Matthew, Jack, and Kevin. Jack's parents. The way Jack became a part of Doey was falling into a vat of Play-Doh, so Playtime let his parents visit him, but when Kevin, the aggressive part of Doey, came out and saw them, didn't recognize them, got scared, and killed them. The reincarnation of the god Destruction. On April 27, 1992, unlike the other 2 reincarnations of gods who were born, Destruction's just spawned in. After like 792 years, we learned that the king of Dreamland called him Kirby and stole all the food, so he went to go get the food back because he was hungry. Food stealer. The king of Dreamland, King Dedede, stole all the food of his servants because he's a cruel dictator and a big back, so Kirby is coming to beat his ass. Kirby vs. Dedede. After a long journey, Kirby enters Dedede's castle to whoop his ass, and when he does, Kirby eats some stars and gains the ability to copy people and merges Dreamland with his ancestors' home world, Plush World. Breaking Out. On June 18th, 1992, at 10:27 p.m., Huggy Wuggy managed to successfully break out of the Playtime Co., and they sent some employees to get him so Playtime Co. won't get arrested. It was a 4-hour pursuit, and there were multiple casualties. The creation of Glitch Trap. Afton was a clever man, and one day decided to create a digital copy of himself if he died one day, to make him actually immortal and everlasting. The 6 golden coins. In 1992, Mario's rival Wario stole his castle so he went on an adventure to gather 6 golden coins to beat Wario, and Mario whooped his fat ass. Lost in New York. In 1992, Kevin, now 10, actually gets on the wrong plane to New York, where the Wet Bandits are, and Kevin defeats them in a toy store. Ice King and Gunter. In 1993, Simon, now Ice King, meets the Orgalorg in penguin form and names him Gunter, and a bunch of other penguins. The death of Phone Guy. The week before Michael's shift, Ralph the Phone Guy was doing his 4th night on the job, where Golden Freddy appeared and killed Ralph and put his body in a Freddy suit. In August of 1993, Michael Afton, under the name Mike Schmidt, was working at Freddy's for some extra money, and was faced with the same fate as Phone Guy, and was fired for tampering with his animatronics, probably an attempt to free their souls. The death of William Afton. In 1993, William broke into the 3rd Freddy's and destroyed the 4 animatronics, but the souls, accompanied by Cassidy, chased Afton and drove him to the spring-lock suit, and water got in the suit, spring-locking and skewering Afton to death. The Catnap Recall. In 1993, the Catnap dolls that were attached to the Smiling Critters line of toys were seen to give children often violent nightmares. Beside them, they're little grinning catnap dolls. The gas that was supposed to be lavender-scented was hallucinogenic gas from Experiment 108, Catnap. Catnap was breathing into the plushies out of spite of Harley Sorter's visits. The Nightmare Before Christmas. One of Bill's henchmen, Oogie Boogie, who has tortured the Earth for centuries, had Santa frickin' Claus brought before him by some of the Pumpkin King Jack Skellington's hench children. When Oogie tried to kill Santa, His bag flesh was ripped open, and all the bugs were dropped into lava, except one was squished by Santa. Oogie Boogie was forced to go to the Theraprism by the axolotl. Rudy's Bluebells. For Christmas of 1993, Delilah gave Rudy the ability to change his nose from red to blue, and gave him some bluebells to go with it. Experiment 1354. In 1994, Harley Sawyer was punished for wanting to run the Bigger Bodies initiative, so his brain was donated in operating Experiment 1354 at the prototype, the Doctor, and guess who made him? Fiery. The prototype's plan. After seeing Ludwig turn his #1 admirer Sawyer into Experiment 1354, it said, "You don't treat your own fan, let alone your own son, like that. You don't get to live." The Yellow Kirby. In 1994, Kirby opened a golf course called Kirby's Dream Course, and for some reason, through unexplained sources, there was a yellow Kirby named Kibi. Pizza Boy's Piz Pizza. In 1995, Peppino started working for the company Piz Pizza with other mascots like Pizza Boy, The Noise, Gus, and the Cheese Slime. Experiment 1191. Dogby failed to be the supporting work rep in the catnap, so Fire recreated him as a smaller, therefore a more violent experiment, but never got the Bigger Bodies treatment since playtime was about to close. Michael's Nightmares. 12 years after the bite, Michael is still suffering from the trauma of leading to his brother's death when he starts having the same nightmares that his brother described to him. But one thing was different. There was a black translucent version of Nightmare Frederick created from the agony of the bite, and this thing's name was Nightmare. The Hour of Joy. On August 8th, 1995, the prototype came up with a vengeance plan on that day. Catnap escaped his cell and let Yarnaby know of the screaming and poked his head out at Huggy Wuggy, letting him know it was 10:06 a.m. Then the experiment started a massacre, and the bodies were thrown into the underbelly of Playtime Co.
In Providence, we root for the home team.
Bobby and Giblet. Bobby was in on the prototype's Hour of Joy idea, but when Giblet tied up some survivors, she ratted him out to the prototype, and the prototype tore Giblet's eye out, but when Bobby said that was wrong, the prototype ordered Catnap to lock her in a cell for her heresy. Experiment 1468. During the Hour of Joy, the prototype had Hoppy, Kickin, and Bob Chops find Miss Gracie for the prototype to turn her into Lily Lovebraids. But Hoppy and Kickin said that was wrong. Hoppy got away, but Kickin wasn't so. But Kickin was captured by Catnap. Doughy and Hoppy. After the Hour of Joy, Doughy and Hoppy decided to team up to keep the other smaller toys from the Catnap and the prototype. Dog Day rebels. Dog Day rebelled against the prototype and was protected by Doughy and Hoppy, but one night Catnap appeared, kicked Dog Day in the voice box, breaking it, took him and Hoppy from Doughy. Punishing heretics. After the Hour of Joy, Catnap kept 1181 Dog Day, 1185 Hoppy Hopscotch, and 1186 Poppy Bear Hug alive. Unlocked 1182 Bubba Bubbleton, 1183 Picky Picky, 1184 Crafty Corn, 1187 Kickin' Chicken in the classroom with the Mr. Lights. Catnap and Baba Chops. After punishing the heretics, the prototype awarded Catnap by arranging a thing with him in 1189 Baba Chops, but Baba eventually left him because Catnap was too ambitious to prototype and not her. Putting Poppy in the case. The prototype had heard that Poppy, his own sister, wanted to rebel against him, so he put her in a case that psychologically damaged her. Pinky and Brain. In 1995, Acme Labs spliced the genes of two white mice named Pinky into Brain. Once gained consciousness, the prototype decided every night to try to take over the world. Equation of Cain. In 1995, the company CNA were working on AI. They made one named Cain, who was discovered to be defective, so they made another named Abel, and Cain got jealous, so Kane absorbed his twin to become the main AI. Arrested. In 1995, cannibalistic psychologist Bob Dells was arrested after selling burgers with human meat in them. Mr. Antenna's TV time. In the 90s, Plush World's favorite TV show and celebrity were introduced, Mr. Tenna, the host of Mr. Antenna's TV time. Kirby Superstar. In 1996, Marx got the Sun and Moon to fight and have Kirby get the God Clock Galactic Nova to make a wish to get them to stop fighting, but Marx intercede, wishing to become a god again, and Kirby whooped his ass. Catnap relocation plan. On the night of July 13th, 1996, one of the survivors of the Hour of Joy, Fiery, went to rescue the toys with the truck and walked back home with Catnap. On that night, Catnap killed someone after breaking into a church because he wanted to make it a church of protoology. Catnap's home. For the first few months, Catnap lived with Fiery and Coiny, who was located in the underbelly of Plush World's garden, but with the other creations after almost killing Coiny, but Fiery would still feed him for the next 28 years, even after it got renamed to Sona Shipping in 2021. Operation Impending Doom. The Arkan race is known for one thing, conquering planets, but during their plan, known as Operation Impending Doom, one of the Urkings named Zim was too excited to conquer planets that he didn't notice that they were still on the same planet. The Addisons. In a part of the dark world called Cyber City, pop-up ads took the form of things called Addisons, but one strived to become more than an Addison, and after breaking loose, got an apartment in Cyber City and a new name. Spamton G. Spamton. His roommates. In 1996, Spamton, an inspiring salesman, moved to Cyber City and moved into an apartment with Javelin Mike. His TV job. Spamton's roommate, Mike, worked for Mr. Antenna, and Mike managed to get Spamton a job at the TV studio. The birth of Robbie. Robbie Valentino was born in 1996 and would eventually be the boyfriend and then ex-boyfriend of Wendy Corduroy. He also represents the heart stitches on the cipher wheel. Winning Big. In the cartoon Winning Big, Scraps ends up winning one of these game shows, and V still holds a personal grudge to her to this day. V and Dandy's beef. After the cartoon aired, V had one more game show where Dandy won a car, but V wouldn't give it to him. So Dandy threw a microphone at her lightly, then this started beef. The end of Felix's television career. By the late 90s, the animated cartoons that have changed for the most. They started off with a theatrical start, and then moved to television like Felix the Cat, the first theatrical cartoon star, but in April of 1997, the last episode of The Last Felix Show, The Twisted Tales of Felix, aired. Felix just couldn't compete with someone like Mickey, with 3 dedicated shows with 5 on their way in the 21st century. His new apartment. Spamton became such a big shot, he was the talk of the city, so the Queen of the Cyber City got Spamton a room in her castle. Snobbish. Spamton still hung out with the other Addisons, but mainly to talk on the phone with Mike, and when he wasn't, he just started talking about insane crap about being a big shot. So the others stopped hanging out with Spamton simply because he was just being kind of irritable. Tenna and Spamton steal. Even though he was a celebrity, Tenna still craved more popularity and decided to make a deal with his business partner, Spamton, but before that, Spamton got a call from White Point blocked and ran away. Tenna and Blacksteel. After Spamton left, Tenna was desperate to get him back, and made a deal with Bob's Dark World form, but he tricked Tenna, black-possessed Tenna, killed Mike, and attacked Spamton, when he returned to get his stuff. Creation of device underscore friend. Black killed Mike for a reason because he wanted to make Mike a true threat and made him a dangerous devil-worshipping demon cat from hell made of circles that likes to kidnap children. This was also a body for the device underscore friend. His bug. After that, Spamton decided to sleep in a dumpster because he didn't want to look like that in front of the Queen, and he got a computer bug from that, and most of his links were blocked, and he starts talking very weirdly. Spamton's Shadow Crystal. In his dreams, after Mike fully became the vessel of Friend, it showed up in Spamton's mind and gave him a Shadow Crystal. The birth of Wendy. Wendy Corduroy was born in 1997 and would eventually work at the Mystery Shack. She also represents the ice on the cipher wheel. Kenny dies. In 1997, as Bill said, after Kenny turned 8, he was hit by a beam from a UFO, ran over by a stampede of cows, and hit by a cop car. Jevel's Freedom. During the first group of paper characters started, Flowey kept telling Jevel that the world was a game over and over again until he ran with it. Jevel and Spamton's game. Later that day, Jevel played his game with Spamton when it stops when your heart HP goes down, but Spamton won and kicked Jevel all the way back to the Dark World. Jevel's Shadow Crystal. During his rampage in the Card Kingdom, Jevel was approached by W.B. Gaster, who offered Jevel a Shadow Crystal, adding to his madness. Jevel's Cage. Later that night, Jevel was in the Card Kingdom, where the king had Jevel's friend Sham lock him in a cage, and Jevel feels that he was the only one free. Eviction. Spamton was evicted from the Queen's mansion, and when he tried to return, swatched through Spamton into the acid lake, dissolving his black pants and tie, and turned his suit red to black, so now his dumpster is his only home. Electric Soldier Porygon. The episode of the Pokemon animated series Electric Soldier Porygon gave millions of children with epilepsy seizures. Those got Porygon banned from the rest of the show. Mr. Hanky. In 1997, Kyle was sad that Jewish people like him couldn't celebrate Christmas or eat Christmas snow, so he created Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo. Everyone thought he was insane until Shep told that Mr. Hanky was real. Lawsuit. Piz Pizza got a lawsuit after Peppino reported them for killing a health inspector with the animatronics Pizza Boy made in the back. All Pizza Boy cardboard cutouts would be thrown out, and Peppino and Gus would leave the company, pissing off Pizza Boy. Argumental Woes. In 1999, Shrimpo was shown off in the cartoon Argumental Woes, where he argues with Dandy, but Shrimpo has a problem with being too in character. Basically, he hates everything. Pico's School. July, Pico defended his school from a shooting that was caused by goth kids who were aliens, and at the end of the shooting, Pico shot and killed the leader, Cassandra. Dandy meets the Ink Demon. After an adventure that Roger and Toodles had, Dandy enters the Toon House and meets the Ink Demon. Lights Out Investigation. In the cartoon Lights Out Investigation, Roger and Toodles were investigating something, and Astro kept an eye on them because it was dark. The Birth of Pacifica. Pacifica Northwest was born in 1999 and is the daughter of Preston Northwest, a family who says they own the name Gravity Falls, even though it was decided by half the Plush World's population. She would also represent the llama on the cipher wheel for some odd reason. The Birth of the Pines Twins. In 1999, Dipper and Mabel Pines were born in California. They would also eventually represent the pine tree and the shooting star on the cipher wheel of Mice and... Damn it, this was supposed to be in 1998 and was supposed to be up, but we can put it to 1999. Of Mice and Memes. In 1999, after seeing Pinky being influenced by mindless television, the brain decided to tried to control the masses by making television more accessible, digital phone and tablet, an invention that took 21 years. Rudy and Louie's beef. Louie had made multiple jokes of Rudy liking Coco, and during one of these, Louie got Rudy in trouble with Delilah, making Rudy understandably kinda pissed. The game. Kane's co-creator, who was named Mike, had a brain tumor and probably created the game to expand his life, but when he got there, he got why he made it and would abstract things to his abstract way of thinking. Scratch also found iWork's abandoned character concepts and gave them to Kane to eventually give to circus members. Kinger enters the circus. The creator of Kane, whose name was in real life was Grant, was transported into the game Mike made, and his wife Destiny, who was called Queenie in the circus and was dubbed Kinger by Kane. The first abstraction. The creator of the game Mike, who in the circus was named Scratch, wasn't so keen on staying, so he went insane and caused the first abstraction. Bubble.exe. Kane decided to give an assistant to himself, Bubble, but Kinger didn't really give Kane the ability to create things very good. So Bubble was created a computer virus called bubble_boy.exe. Kane also used the parts of Abel's AI that he absorbed and made Bubble an extension of his AI. The birth of Pichu. In 1999, the last member of the Pikachu evolution lineup, Pichu was born, and unlike the other two, this one was to stay a Pichu, but it didn't work. He'd also developed ideological and fascist beliefs, hating races like anime and animalist. The birth of Furret. In 1999, there was once a young fella who liked to walk, and he was named Furret, and he liked to walk. Danny starts to notice. Near the end of the Near the end of the 1900s, Dandy starts to notice that the event tune handlers start treating them like decorations after their holidays end. And that was the end of this section of the timeline. Part 4 will come out tomorrow.